Hey y'all, it's Nay. I'm back with another video. Today we're gonna be doing story time. Kind of two stories, but they're the same. So it'll be how I miscarried my first child, and how I miscarried, and then how I got pregnant a couple months later. So for a while, I thought I wasn't able to have kids. I feel like everybody goes through that phase, like, I'm not pregnant. So I thought I wasn't able to have kids for a while because me and my husband were trying for like a year and nothing happened. And I also wasn't having like regular menstrual cycles. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, I can't have kids. So I'll always be like very depressed about it. I'm like, oh, I always want like my own little baby, you know, just so you can have something of yours. Like, okay, this is mine. I created this. This is my little baby. Part of me, part of my husband. So, just to get y'all some details on the face, the eyebrows is like, I'm sorry guys, but yeah. So for a while, I thought I couldn't have kids because I wasn't getting periods, and I'm like, I know you need, like, they go hand in hand. You don't have one without the other. So I'm like, oh, okay. So that's that. I went to a doctor, got looked at. She told me everything looked normal in there. There weren't no cysts on my ovaries or anything, because I thought maybe there were some cysts on my ovaries. She said there weren't no cysts on my ovaries. She said I could possibly have POX, if I'm saying it right, PCOS, I believe. Polio something syndrome. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. And yeah, so in my mind, I'm like, okay, I got this. And she said, this stops your period. She said this can stop your period. This can hurt your chances of having a baby. So I'm like, okay. So tell my husband, he's actually in the waiting room when it happened. And they also did a pap smear and it came back normal. So I'm like, okay, maybe I have POX or whatever. You know, that's the case of that. And then my husband's like, and mind you, I've never been like skinny, but I've never had like a lot of weight. Like right now I'm a little chunky. I just had a baby. So that's that. But I've always been like between 150, 170, like good weight. So good weight in the right places. But yeah, so we're sitting there and I'm like, okay, I may have POX or whatever. And then my husband's like, oh, and my doctor also said weight gain, what you eat, caffeine can stop your periods. So I was eating a little crazy. I gained a lot of weight. So my husband's like, we're gonna lose weight. So almost every day, maybe not every day, if you guys wanted to see the edges, but he would have me outside walking, running distances, and I lost a lot of weight. Like I got down really small. After I lost a lot of weight, my periods start coming in. So I'm like, okay. And it's crazy because it's like, who wants a period? But it's like when you want to, start a family, you need your period. So I got my period back. My period came once. This was in April of 2019. My period came. And then me and my husband, of course, we were still trying, even without the period. No, I'm sorry, guys. I'm lying to you. My period never came. May 2019. May 2019. I got my period. Well, what I thought was a period. But even though I wasn't getting periods, me and my husband were still trying to have a baby. So, therefore, after that happened, after I lost weight, we were still trying. I got a period in May, what I thought was a period. So it was May 16th. May 16th. I got my period started that day. And my cramps were like so painful, so crazy. So I'm telling my husband, I'm like, well, I don't feel good. Like my body is really hurting. I feel really sick too. And it's just my period. Like that's what I thought it was. So I went the whole day, and I'm having cramps, like really bad cramps. Well, I went the whole day with normal cramps, and then It hit about 10 p.m. at night. My husband went to sleep. My cramps got so bad. I'm in the bed crying, like, So I'm in the bed crying, and then I'm like, oh my God, I have to use the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, and I had to boom. So I'm booming or whatever, and then I'm like, oh my God, I have to throw up. So turn around, throw up, and then nothing really came up because I guess I wasn't eating that day. It was just like a little bit of, it was just a little bit of something that didn't come up. So after I finished using the bathroom, I'm in the bathroom. I'm calling for my husband. I'm calling his cell phone. Mind you, our bathroom is like right here. Our bedroom is like right here, so the wall in between. So as I'm calling his phone from the bathroom, I can hear his cell phone ringing in the bedroom, which is pissing me off. Which is making me mad, because I'm like, I know you hear that phone ring if I hear it ringing. But he was knocked out. So I'm still in the bathroom. I'm crying really bad because at this time my cramps are from a low 2 to 3 to like a high 50. Like, I'm in a lot of pain. So I take a couple minutes in the bathroom trying to get myself together. I couldn't even stand up. So I crawl into my bedroom, and I'm like, babe. He wakes up, what? I'm like, something is wrong. Like, these cramps are really hurting. And me, I don't go to the hospital. Like, I don't like being bothered with the hospital. Whenever you're at the hospital, for some reason, they always want to find a reason to give you a needle. I don't like needles. I know you have tattoos, but I don't like getting shots. So that's what I associate the hospital with, getting needles. So my husband's like, no, you need to go to the hospital. Like, you're still throwing up. I was throwing up in our bedroom. Like, I had a bag, but I was throwing up in our bedroom, and I couldn't move, and I was sweating really bad. Like, I was really weak. So he said, no, I'm taking you to the hospital. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the hospital. Like, if I don't feel better in the morning, then I'll go to the hospital. So he's like, no, you look like you don't look good. You need to go to the hospital. So I'm like, okay. He puts my shoes, mind you, I'm still laying on the floor because I can't move. So he puts my shoes on for me. And then I walk out the house, like, really crouched over. I'm in the car, and I swear, every bump he hit, like, it hurt. I don't know why, but, like, maybe it's just because I was being extra, but it hurt really bad. So we pull up to the hospital. He parks the car. We walk in the emergency door. As we're walking into the emergency room, I feel something like whoosh. Sorry, it's a little graphic, but I'm like, what the hell is that? So I go to the bathroom, and then I see, okay, something came out of me. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. Like, what is this? So I took a picture of it. So I'm like, I haven't been seen by the doctor yet. I'll show the doctor. So the doctor's asking me, when's your last menstrual cycle? I'm like, I don't get periods. Like, they come every so months. Like, whenever they feel like they want to come is when they come. And I thought I was, like, I told him, I said, well, I'm on my cycle now, because at this time I still didn't know I didn't know I was miscarrying at that moment. So I'm like, well, I'm on my cycle now. They're like, okay, I'm getting my vitals checked and everything. You got a fever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I figured that. Then they're like, we're going to take you. No, we're going to sit you back in the waiting room. And when we have, the doctor will call your name when, there's room available. I sit in the waiting room for 4 hours, like 4 hours. And I kept telling my husband, I'm like, I want to go home. Like, I want to go home. At this point, I'm like, I'm not even in pain anymore. Like, I want to go home. They gave me a heating packet, like a heating pad. It was like nothing that you plug up. It was like this little thing. You shake it real quick, and it heats up. Because, like, my abdomen, that was hurting. So I'm sitting with that in the waiting room. They gave me a blanket, too, because I'm really cold. And I'm sitting. And I'm like, no, I want to go home. Like, I'm not about to keep waiting on these people. I just want to go home. So my husband's like, no, let's just wait, see what the doctor has to say. And then I'm like, okay, but I want to go home. Like, but then I'm like, something did just happen as I walked in here. Remember that picture I told you about? Because I want to get that check. I want to make sure everything's okay, because I'm like, that's never happened before. So 4 hours later, they call me into a room. They're like, okay, well, any possible chance of pregnancy? So I'm like, I don't think so, because, you know, again, like I told you guys, I wasn't getting periods. And I thought you have to have a period to get pregnant. I thought you had to be getting like your periods consistently to get pregnant. So I wasn't getting my periods months prior to that. So I'm like, not really. Like, are you having protected sex? Not with my husband, you know, but I don't think there's a chance of pregnancy. How? So then they're like, okay, well, let's draw your blood work. They do my blood work, and she comes back, Miss Howard, you are pregnant. So I'm like, what? I start crying, like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. And then it clicked to me, like, no, I can't be pregnant, because I know I just seen something. Then I was like, maybe as crazy as it sounds, I'm like, maybe something's clogging me up, like, I don't know. So then they're like, we're gonna go do an ultrasound to see if, you know, we can see like a heartbeat or see a yolk sac or whatever. So they do a vaginal ultrasound, painful, and they're like, and when you're in there, I asked them questions. We can't tell you. They won't even let you really see the monitor, really. I'm like, excuse me, do you see anything? Oh, your doctor will discuss it with you. I'm like, okay. So, they take me back to my room. After they finish the ultrasound, they're like, okay, your doctor will go over, you know, what I write down, your doctor will tell you. Okay, boom. Go back in the room. They come back. They come in the room, and they're like, okay, we don't see anything on the screen. We don't see a visible yolk sac, no heartbeat or nothing. So I'm like, okay. But they're like, your levels still show up pregnant. So you could be really, really, really early, or it could be a possible miscarriage. So I'm like, okay. I call my mom. I let my mom know. Well, actually, matter of fact, I called my mom when I was in the waiting room, and when I was on the phone with her, she was like, you're pregnant. I'm like, no, I'm not pregnant. She was like, Linnea, you're pregnant. I'm like, okay. So I come home actually the next morning, because I got to the hospital probably like 11 at night. And the fact that we waiting in the waiting room so long, and then we were in the back so long, I actually didn't get home till like 8 o'clock in the morning. So this time my mom is up and everything, and we tell her what's going on. And then everybody's like, just rest, you know, give your body some time to rest. You don't know what's going on. You could be early, you know, you don't want to stress yourself out too much if you know, you're still pregnant. So me and my husband go lay in the bed. My husband, also the hospital told me they wanted to see me back in 2 days to check my levels. So I come home on the 16th. The 17th, I wound up going back to the hospital because I was bleeding still, like, really heavy. And at this point, I kind of knew, like, you know, I miscarried a baby. So I go back to the hospital, and I tell them, I'm like, well, one of the doctors in the back told me to come back in 2 days to check my levels to see if I'm still pregnant, because I had a situation. And I'm like, but I'm still bleeding really heavy. So this time they didn't really make me wait in the waiting room. I went and got my vitals, and after my vitals, they took me back straight to a room. And then, you know, they come in, do your blood again. And then I'm not quite sure what the amount that you're supposed to have for, like, the pregnancy hormone levels, if I'm saying it right. I think is your HCG. I'm not sure. But I know it has to be, like, a high number. And my numbers from the day before dropped, like, really bad. So the doctor came in the room. She said, well, you know, you did have a miscarriage. So I'm like, in my head, like I'm really crying. So she said, you did have a miscarriage. Your levels did drop, like, tremendously, like, you know. So what we call this as a spontaneous miscarriage is what she called it, I believe. A spontaneous miscarriage. So she tells me that. So me and my husband are in the room. I'm, like, crying because I'm like, you know, I wanted a baby so bad. And it's like, it sucks because one, I'm miscarrying, and two, I didn't even know I was pregnant. So I was like, maybe I could have did something. It's like, I feel like a lot of women who miscarry always hit themselves like that. Oh, well, maybe I could have slept a little longer. Maybe I couldn't have ate this, or maybe I could have walked more. Maybe I could have took it easy. Maybe I could have not exercised or something. So it's like, maybe I could have did something right if I knew I was pregnant. But I didn't know I was pregnant because I must have been like really early, and a lot of support from my family, so which was good. And this was in May, guys. Mind you, I got married May 6th of 2019. 10 days later, I had a miscarriage low-key. Well, excuse me, I had a miscarriage, and then low-key found out I was pregnant as well. So May was a hectic month. So for the next couple months, I start like going really crazy, like trying to get re-pregnant because I really wanted a child. So I was trying to get re-pregnant, like taking tests after me and my husband, you know. And then I started going really crazy, like really crazy. And then I talked to one of my friends, and she told me about an app. She probably gonna see this. But sorry, I got a message. But I talked to one of my friends. She told me about an app called Flow, and it helps to show you like when you're ovulating and track your periods. So I was using that for like a month before I got re-pregnant. So me and my husband were trying. And then I just told myself, like, okay, I need to relax. I need to take it easy. If God wants it to happen, then it will happen. So November comes. It's like November 15th, November 16th. My husband buys me this necklace. It's a little angel with wings, and the message of the necklace was an angel of reassurance. So I took that as like, you know, just reassuring me that everything will be okay, and reassuring me that, you know, if God wants me to be a mommy, I'll be a mommy. And God doesn't, I feel like he never lets nobody down, and he's always there. So I took that as like, okay, I need to chill out. I have my necklace, you know, if it'll happen for me, it'll happen for me. So I just calmed down. Literally, guys, this was like November 15th. Literally 2 days later, I'm at work with my husband. My husband worked with me. So we're at work. We were working a night shift. So everybody was like gone. It was just kind of us. So we were chilling on our break downstairs, like in our break room. So I'm like, I'm pregnant. He's like, huh? I'm like, I feel like I'm pregnant. Like, we need to go get a test right now while we're on break. So, sorry, somebody's walking outside. So he's like, okay. So the night before, I had a dream. I haven't really told a lot of people about this dream, but I told him when it happened about the dream. I was like, I feel like I'm really pregnant because of the dream I had. So I had a dream that I was pregnant, and me and his mom, my mother-in-law, somehow she told me I was pregnant. I'm like, no, I'm not pregnant. You're pregnant, da da da. And for some reason, in the dream, I took 7 tests, and all of the tests came back positive. So I'm really like, I'm pregnant, like. So I take a test. Well, excuse me, we leave work, and then we go to Walmart, get a test. We just get like a regular, I think it's parent choice, parent first. I don't know. It's a pink box where it's just the 2 lines. November 17th, we leave to go to work, go to Walmart, pick up a test. Now, 2 comes in a box. So we go home. I take the test. After I take the test, I'm in the bathroom. I sit it down. You know, you gotta wait like 2 or 3 minutes. So I sit the test down. I'm like, okay. My husband's like, you know, just calm down. I'm gonna be out here. You let me know what's going on. So I'm like, okay. In the bathroom. And then I look at the test, pick it up. I see 1 line. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I just don't understand it. I feel like I'll be the best mom ever. I'll be a good mommy. Like, I'll do everything right. You know, why can't I have the blessing that I want? Then I felt really ungrateful. So I said a little prayer. I'm like, you know what, God, I'm going to stop doubting you. What you want for me is what you want for me. So I'm like, okay, I thank you for every blessing that you gave me before, and I know when it's my time, it's my time. So I'm like, all right. I called my husband. No, excuse me. I'm like, okay. So I look at the test one more time. Another line popped up. So I was like, hold up. So I'm like, babe, what you see on this test? And then he's like, I think I see 2 lines. So the one line was really like bold and the other one was really light. So I'm like, okay. So, but I could see it like clear as day. So I call him. I'm like, okay, what do you see? He was like, I think I see 2 lines, but I don't know. It's really little. It's like really faint. So I'm like, yeah, but it's there. I'm pregnant. Oh no, it's still late. So I'm like, let me call my aunt. So, because my aunt just had a baby. Well, she had a baby a couple months prior to me finding out I was pregnant again. So my aunt, no, Keyshawn's like, my husband, he's like, no, don't tell nobody, it's too early. But I'm like, I need to make sure this is a positive pregnancy test. So I called my aunt and I put the thing in the camera. I was like, do you see 2 lines? She was like, yes. She's like, congratulations, da. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. So this time around it felt good because I'm like, okay, I know like it's not me miscarrying and finding out. Like this time I actually found out on my own. Like, so this time like I took the test myself and seen like the line. So me and my husband, we got back to work really late from our break, and we went to Walmart and we bought the clear blue digital test where it either pops up pregnant or not pregnant. So I take the test, waiting. So I'm like, oh my God, why did I even look at the fact? So I'm like, why did I even take this test? It's gonna come back not pregnant, and I'm just gonna be upset and be hurt. Why that dream was like, boom, pregnant. So I started like getting emotional. I'm like, oh my God. Called my husband. He was like, oh, I'm so happy, but I just want to hear the doctor tell us just to be sure. So I'm like, okay, I respect that, after what happened, So we actually make appointments to go to a doctor, but they're like, we can't see you till 8 weeks. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm 8 weeks because I don't even know how far along I am, when I conceive, blah, 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 blah. So my last period was October 17th. And I guess they went off of that. And at that time, I think it put me to be like, I want to say like 2-3 weeks. So I was really early. But I went to the hospital just to check, like, because I was so scared because I had miscarried before. And but yeah, I went to the hospital to just like double check. And the hospital, like, I went to Harbor Hospital. I didn't go to the hospital I went to where I miscarried, because I just want to make sure that I get a second opinion, and I don't want to have to go through the same thing. So I went to Harbor Hospital. They're like, your baby has a heartbeat. I'm like, oh my gosh. They're like, yeah, baby has a strong heartbeat. So I was like, oh my gosh. They were like, yeah, this puts you at about 5 weeks. I'm like, 5 weeks they have a heartbeat? He was like, yeah, strong heartbeat. Then he was like, you do have a little internal bleeding. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So he was like, since you have the bleeding, we do have to diagnose you as a threatened miscarriage. So I'm scared. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm miscarrying again. Like, oh my gosh. So a nurse comes in after he leaves to draw some more blood. And she asks me, like, what's going on? So I told her, I was like, yeah, but he just said he has to diagnose as threatened miscarriage. And she was like, don't pay that no mind. She was like, your baby has a heartbeat, strong heartbeat. She was like, don't worry about it. Don't let it scare you. So, and also the bleeding could have came from them doing a transvaginal ultrasound. Like, if you guys know, it's like a thing like this big, and like that's how they see up in you. Because when you're too early, they can't see through your stomach. They have to do a transvaginal one. So the bleeding could have came from that. So in my mind, I needed everybody to tell me I was pregnant before I can believe it, because of what happened. So I go to Chase Braxton. It's like a doctor's office / clinic. They do free pregnancy tests. So I went there, got a test done, and the lady's like, nope, not pregnant. I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, the hospital just told me I was pregnant. And I took, mind you guys, I took 7 pregnancy tests because my dream told me 7. So I took 7 and they all came back positive. Like a couple days later, the ones with the 2 lines, they got darker and they got darker. And then I got more tests with the clear blue joint. So I'm like, I know I'm pregnant. Like, and I don't care. When you find out you're pregnant, you automatically feel pregnant. Like, in 2 weeks. But yeah, so I'm like, I know I'm pregnant. So Chase Braxton's like, no. And then she was like, any chance of a miscarriage? And I don't know why, but that like triggered me and I really wanted to punch her. I'm like, no chance of a miscarriage. Like, and I'm like, I had a miscarriage in May. And she's like, oh, but maybe. I'm like, no, the hormones are not going to still be in my body from May to November. Like, no, they're not. Like, stop lying. So I left her and I was really upset. So I made a doctor's appointment. And then by this time, I believe I was 8 weeks so I could get seen. I go to my doctor's and I'm like really nervous because Chase Braxton just basically told me I wasn't pregnant. So I'm like really nervous. I pee in a cup. She, they tested. She comes in the room. She was like, well, congratulations, you 2 are pregnant. I'm like, oh my God. And then I actually had to wind up switching my doctor. I really loved that lady. Well, I'm not going to say love because I only have 1 appointment with her, but I really liked her. Like, I did a lot of research on her, but my insurance, she didn't take my insurance. I had bullcrap insurance, so I had to switch her and then get a different doctor. And I wanted a female doctor just because I felt like they would relate more to, a woman being pregnant. But I actually wound up getting a male doctor, and my male doctor actually was like really nice, really sweet, really like hands-on, like, he was really good. So I really enjoyed my experience with him. So yeah, and I had a little boy. I'll do another video about him and my labor experience, my hospital stay, a different day. Right now I actually have to go do something. So yeah, that was my experience on how I miscarried and I kept my hope alive and I had a baby. I had another baby. So I just want to tell any women out there that are struggling or they feel like they can't have a child to just, give it to God. Honestly, like I know a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to give it to God, and they may not mean it. Like I actually prayed about it and I'm like, you know what? This is what you want me to have. I'll have it. Like, I know you won't let me down. Like, you're God. And my husband also got me a necklace. So get yourself something that'll give you some hope that you can like hold on to. And also, guys, when I said I was in the bathroom praying about getting pregnant again, when I took the test, I actually held on to my necklace like this and I prayed, just to throw it out there. So I just had something that kept me going each day. Like, I don't know, like something was different about me and something was different. So yeah, I actually had a baby. Well, I said that already. I had a baby in July. So he's a Cancer like me. But yeah, I'll do another video about that, my labor experience. So that's just how I wanted to do my story time with you guys and let you guys know how I miscarried, but I was still able to have kids. And it's just all about the timing and how your body feels and how your body wants to react. Like, a lot of people miscarry and can get pregnant 2 weeks later. I thought I was going to be one of them, but I wasn't. I actually didn't get pregnant in November and I miscarried in May. So it's just letting your body work itself through the motions and finding out what your body wants to do. So guys, if you like this video, subscribe. I'll do a lot more story times because I have a lot of stories. And I'll do a lot more videos that you guys want to see. Just comment. But subscribe, share with your family, your friends, and yeah, so bye.